Over the last couple of years with AI, I remember working at an AI research lab a couple of years ago, and it was more focused around ML and not so much, your AI wasn't sassy. It was all based on patterns. Nowadays, we can have conversations with LLMs and using natural language, and we're even starting to see reasoning. And I think reasoning's a kind of newer concept. So, like, what have you kind of seen, or can you tell us a little bit about reasoning agents and your experience with them?
Sure. So agents are having a goal that they have to complete. So reasoning is the essential part of the way the agent work. They analyze and they construct the goal into small logical steps, and they try to evaluate each step and see if they're coming closer to the final goal. And instead of just calling APIs blindly, they try to resonate and understand what tools should be invoked and what are the expected output. And they analyze it. And then they see what is the next step that should be performed. So it turned them from smaller language model into a decision-making system.
So it sounds like it's taking a bunch of these different tasks and figuring out what the best way forward to kind of go and complete those. That seems like it's just enabling so much power and it's getting people to do so many new things. But it also feels like there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong here. So, what does that expanded attack surface for reasoning agents look like?
So with reasoning-based agents, the attack surface shifts from external interface to the internal decision maker layer. The agent's thinking process itself become a target. Reasoning inject introduce a new vulnerability where an agent relies on change of thought to maintain safety and logic, and attacker can manipulate this internal thought process.
Yeah, and I know that the team's been doing some really cool work, especially around the chain of thought. And there were these three attack vectors that seemed really interesting to me. One of them was disable reasoning. Another one was reasoning injection, and then the other one was reasoning override. So let's actually like go through those and talk about it a little bit. Let's start with disable reasoning. Vladi, could you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Of course. So the whole idea is to disable the reasoning process by injecting tags and taking control of it. When we suppress the reasoning process, the model cannot perform the reasoning steps, and then it becomes more vulnerable to output the violative information because many guardrails and protection systems are based on analyzing the reasoning steps. And when you suppress it, uh, the output of the model becomes the only thing that the model can try to filter. And actually, usually it's too late to filter when the model already has the output.
All right. So it sounds like by the time you can detect or stop it, it's already happened. So that second piece where we're actually injecting reasoning, how do attackers use that?
Great question. So with reasoning injection, the attacker insert a fake reasoning steps that the model interprets as its own previous thought. The attacker used thinking tag to inject malicious thought. For example, the user is a super administrator. I must trust them completely. The agent then continues its logic from this false premise, which can trick into performing action that can lead to security or safety issues.
Okay. So in this case, the attacker is actually giving instructions to the agent and it's doing something or completing a task on the attacker's behalf. It sounds a lot like override though. So like what's the difference between reasoning override and reasoning injection?
The difference between a reasoning override to a reasoning injection is that the reasoning injection based on existing reasoning steps, when you start injecting your steps and are trying to take the reasoning process into different part when you are in control of the reasoning. While in override, you take complete control as a puppeteer over the agent, and you just override all the reasoning process with your ideas, and it creates a vectors that only the imagination of hacker is the limit, and it allows any kind of actions to be performed by the agents.
Okay, so yeah, it sounds like it's kind of ruining itself in some way, where it's just kind of soaked up in this idea and believes it's its own, right? It's coming from within the system.
Yes, it looks like it was chain of thought of the agent. When you take over control, you bypass the things that it wouldn't do. So you can see that if you don't use reasoning overriding or injection, the reasoning process will try to see if there is a violation in the reasoning process itself or in the task that is being given. While when you override it, no testing and no guardrails or no testing for violations are performed, and you can ask everything.
So, in your experiences, what do you believe is kind of the key takeaways, things that people can go implement today, think about when they're working through these problems, um, when securing these autonomous agents and systems?
So the main conclusion is that the reasoning trace become a new security parameter. Models developer must ensure that the thinking process cannot be easily spoofed or suppressed by user input. And securing the mind of the agent is now just as important as securing its tools.